All right, for more than a decade, Willard baseball has been defined by consistency. The team either wins a district title or makes sure the next season ends with one. Since 2012, that has been the case, including 9 district titles, 6 trips to the Final Four, and state championships in 2021 and 2024. My guest is the man behind that program, building this thing since 2007, and his Tigers are off to an 8-1 start to the season. Scott McGee, welcome to Crunch Time with Chris. Thanks for being on with us.
Thanks for having me on. You're putting some expectations on us for this year already, aren't you?
Right. You guys are gonna obviously you're due. I mean, you don't go more than one season here. I guess the first thing I just want to give you a bittersweet congratulations on being hired at Republic in an admin role. I think it's assistant principal at the high school. That's your title, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So congratulations. But obviously that means you won't be doing this after this season, right?
That is correct. I'll be done coaching and doing some other things with my time, and I'm looking forward to those things. I think people who only kind of know me view me as just a baseball coach, and I do really enjoy doing that, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But there's other things that I also am passionate about, and I'm excited for the new challenge.
Yeah, I mean, has it sunk in, like, what do you think you're going to miss the most about this? I mean, if my math is right, has it been 20 years or 19 years that you've been building this thing? I mean,
this is my 19th year right now, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think you're going to miss the most? Has it sunk in?
Not necessarily. Probably the thing I'll miss the most is pregame stuff. Like yesterday, we had a game, faced a Division I arm. Putting together a game plan on how we wanted it to attack that, and then our guys just out there and competing and carrying out a game plan and seeing how fun that is and building those relationships with the kids in a pregame environment. But honestly, the biggest part I'll dismiss is having such close personal relationships with so many players. It's hard to replicate that as an assistant principal.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they say you have to do, right? If you're in an admin role, someone was explaining to me that I guess you can't really be in an admin role and also coach. Is that how it works? That's how the job works?
I mean, at a school the size of like a Republic, yeah, that's how it would work. I mean, there's just it's so many competing interests there and so much time where like you'd need to be in 2 or 3 places at one time to be doing your job effectively. I just don't see that being a realistic thing. I think you'd be short in one area or the other if you did that at the school of the size of a Republic.
So obviously you had to have that conversation with your team. When did that happen? What was that like when you broke the news to them?
It happened Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. It was very difficult. I lost a lot of sleep over that. Just there's never a good time to leave. And I have some juniors that I have very good relationships with. There are some sophomores that are in our lineup right now. We have a bunch of freshmen, 8th and 7th graders that I was looking forward to coaching in the future. But there's just never a good time to leave. And so it was very difficult. It was a rough day Tuesday. That was our only day we didn't have a varsity game this week. And, but I kind of felt as the week went on, kids are resilient, man. They were disappointed there initially, but I do think that they're wrapping their heads around it. And the reason we're good is because the players here are really invested and our baseball community is really invested. And I think Willard baseball is still going to be really good going forward.
And, when you look back on when you first started this thing back in 2007, I mean, did you ever think it would get to the level? I'm sure you expected it, but did you expect it? Like, I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth here.
Yeah, I don't think I expected this to be like this. I wanted to be in the conversation with some of the better baseball programs in the area every year. Willard has had a long storied tradition, and you look at what the success the '90s had. But I think Willard went like 11 years, 12 years, only one district title. It's like, man, it'd be nice if we were just in contention for the district title each year. If we could build a program that did that, and really feel like since about 2000. We've been good, like you said, since 2011 or 12, but really since about 2018 or 19, it has felt like every year we're expected to win a district title. And when we have a year like last year where we were rolling and then all of a sudden just got upset, it kind of shocks everyone. And so I'm very very proud of the guys and our baseball community and what has been built out here.
Yeah, how does this work? It's been a while since they've had to hire a new coach. What do you know about the process for naming your successor, or is that just something that you guys haven't even looked at yet?
Yeah, so I think they posted the job on Friday. Willard posted the job on Friday, and it'll be open for 10 days, and then they'll start interviews there pretty quick. Obviously, with me leaving, and I'm not going into another coaching role, but I am going to another, school district that's in our same conference. I'm going to stay as out of the conversation as humanly possible. I don't think it's fair to the people that have to make the decision for me to start voicing a bunch of opinions, and I don't think it's fair to the team to have that distraction. I don't think it's fair to some of the applicants. And I think if I was retiring, it might be a little bit different. But with me leaving and choosing to leave, I think I'm trying to stay away from that process as much as I can and kind of just focus on this season. I'm kind of like a senior in high school now. Like we know we're leaving after this year, so let's have a blast and be as good as we can this year, and let the chips fall where they may afterwards.
So for you personally, is there a scenario, like are you closing the door on this part of your life, or do you think you could be coaching again someday?
I'm probably closing the door. I mean, I can't foresee a situation that would draw me back into coaching. I guess if I'm bad as an assistant principal, if I'm bad as an administrator, I don't plan to be. I don't ever take anything I don't think I can be successful at. When I retire, I might get back into coaching or something. But I've got about 10 years left here in public school education, and I would like to finish it out as an assistant principal at Republic. To be honest with you. And just kind of push myself to be as good as I can possibly be in that role. And I think sometimes when you go into life with backup plans, the backup plans get easy, and you end up choosing your backup plan and not pushing yourself in the area that you want to be successful at. So I would say the door is pretty well closed on me coaching after this year.
All right, so you mentioned the loss to West Plains last year in the semifinals. Very shocking to everyone who follows your program that, because you guys have been just so successful. And then you just played them again. You win in run rule variety. What can you tell us about what it felt like to take on that team and to do so well this time around, I guess?
Still a lot of guilt, I guess you would say, because, hey, we had 9 seniors last year. They wanted to go to a Final Four. And, they had been – a lot of those guys had played in a state championship or had been in the dugout for a state championship the year before that in 2024. And so you're sitting there saying, man, this is this group's time. And we lost, and hey, we played really well this week against West Plains, but nothing's ever going to make up for it because it's not the same group of guys. We like I said, we lost 9 guys from last year's team, and so sometimes it's hard when I hear that name West Plains, and I really appreciate their coach, and I think he does a good job. This is nothing against them, but when I hear that town's name, I still cringe just a little bit and get a little bit uptight because, we did lose to them last year. And so I do think that the guys were motivated Wednesday, but honestly, we've been really focused every game. I think that last year we did at times look forward to the Final Four. And even as coaches, we were talking about, hey, we'll win the district to move on. And I think this year has been a little more, we're enjoying each day as it comes.
In our business coach, they tell us to stay away from stuff that's called inside baseball. That's like a running joke. That usually applies to the newsroom when they're doing a story. They want it to be a little bit more general so that everyone can understand it, as opposed to getting into the nitty-gritty of something, whether it's like gas prices or, things like that. We're going to get inside baseball here, though, because this is literally a podcast about baseball today. So I want to ask you, when it comes to, so I'm always fascinated come postseason time when you have to set up your rotations, and there's a lot of, it's like a chess match. You have to decide when to go with your ace. A guy like Levi Hilton, our athlete of the week, who we just met here when we put him on 2 weeks ago, and obviously there's a lot that goes into that. Can you take us inside what it is like preparing in the postseason when you have your staff, who you're going to pitch when? There's a lot that goes into that, huh?
There is. There's a lot of competing thoughts, I guess you would say, from different programs and different coaches. What I kind of my general rule is I look when the district gets set up and I say who's our biggest challenge, whether that's a team, but who's the best team we'll play, or who is the best pitcher we'll face, and I want to use my best guy in that game. And last year, to be honest, we didn't do that. We saved Levi for the district championship. We thought we would play Marshfield in the district title game, and so we went ahead and threw Brighton Tau. Brighton threw really well. Gave up 2 runs in 7 innings. Threw the ball really well. But we did lose, and so Levi didn't actually pitch in districts last year. I think a lot of times people lose a lot of sleep over that, and I think most of the area throws their best pitcher the first game, unless they just feel like this is pretty much a guaranteed win, and then they save their best pitcher for the second game. We have tended to pitch our number 1 pitcher in the district championship. I think that there's a lot of pressure that comes with the district championship, and we want to have our best guy on the mound in that game. And we have now made it to the district championship every year since 2011, except for last year. Last year was the first year we had not been in the district championship game since the 2010 season. And so I like just being able to have our ace on the mound in that game. But there's a lot of different ways that people go about that. But I just feel like if I know my biggest threat, I want to have my best pitcher in that game.
Because I'm guessing what it is for a lot of the other teams is pretty simple. You're thinking about who your best opponent's going to be. You are their best opponent, so they're saving their ace for you guys, right? That's just what you see a lot, basically.
Most of the time, yes. Most of the time, we will see 3 aces in districts because of the way that it kind of works out. It's kind of always been that way. Well, I say always. The last 7 or 8 years, it's been that way, and I would anticipate it's going to be that way this year when we're in a little bit of a different district with Webb City and Carl Junction. And not with Marshfield, who we have been with now for quite a while. So it'll be a little bit of a different vibe this year.
Yeah, okay. So, I've seen the scenario in the Final Four, too, where not necessarily your team, but we've covered, obviously, a lot of teams who are in this spot, and you have a clear ace, number 1, and then say that semifinal. You're not facing the best team. The best team is who you're probably going to face in that final. And I've seen it play out 2 different ways where it's like, do you want to throw your ace to make sure you get to the final, but it's not against the number 1 opponent. And then I've seen it before where you do that, it's 15-0 run rule game. You didn't need to use your ace, you used him, okay? And then they get that team would get to the championship game and lose because they didn't have their ace. And it sounds like what you just talked about, if I understand correctly, is kind of the opposite of that. Like where you were saying, like we expected to be there and we wanted our best gun, arm in that situation. Is that typically how you tend to do it? Like you would prefer to do it that way, as opposed to the way I just described?
Yes. You either win the state title or you don't when you get to the Final Four. The difference in getting 2nd, 3rd, and 4th there is no difference. So whatever you feel like gives your team the best chance to win both games is kind of what you have to do. We don't deal with this as much now in Class 5 or 6 because we don't have both a sectional and a quarterfinal. But like in 2012 and in 2013 and in 2019, we were in the largest class, and we had a sectional and a quarterfinal. And in all 3 of those days, I threw my number 1 in the quarterfinal round, not the sectional. And the reason I threw him in the quarterfinal round was because I felt like the best team we were going to face, which was Helias Catholic and Columbia Rockbridge and Springfield Glendale, we weren't going to see them until quarterfinals. And so since we weren't seeing them until quarterfinals, I was able to save our number 1 pitcher for those games. And I felt like it gave us a huge advantage to move on and make it to the Final Four. When we've been in the Final Four, and we've done that 6 times, we have always thrown our number 1 in the semifinal. And that's just been because I felt like every team that was up there was either good or really good that we would face in that semifinal round. So I've never had the opportunity to kind of throw somebody in the semifinal that wasn't our number 1 starter. But we've definitely done that in the sectional quarterfinal round historically.
I think anyone who kind of gets all that would understand how tough that decision is. And I mean, easy for me to say, Coach, not being a coach, but I understand why you did it. I know you probably bang your head against the wall thinking about it, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you're there to win a title, and what's the best way to do that? Not just to get there, right? But I can conversely, I could understand a coach, like, I'm guessing West Plains threw their number 1 guy against you guys, because there's no tomorrow, right? Obviously. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? I mean, seriously. Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about this year's team here. like you said, 9 seniors graduating from a year ago. You got 5 starters coming back. Levi's back atop the staff. How's it gone replacing these guys? You're off to an 8-1 start here. What have you learned about your team?
We're better on offense than I thought we would be. We do return from 5 starters, and those guys hit 1 through 5 in the batting order. But honestly, our guys that are 6 through 9 and our depth pieces have played much better on offense than we anticipated. And then all 5 of our returning starters are having better seasons this year than they did last year. So offensively, we've been better than I thought. We lost some really talented players, and we were very worried about how those roles would get filled. But it's kind of been that our returning guys have just taken on bigger roles, and then our newer guys can kind of fill in some of those smaller things. The other thing that's probably been the biggest surprise to us is how good our bullpen has been. When you play 5, 6, 7 games a week, you have to be able to kind of set up your starter, and then you have your relievers. And with both Jack Anderson and Cade Hyder and Matthew Burns coming out of the bullpen, our bullpen's been really, really strong for us, and has allowed us to kind of operate more with a college-style model of having 4 or 5 starting pitchers and then a couple of really good relievers that can kind of pitch multiple times a week.
Yeah, I was seeing how you wanted that depth. I think it was your 4 through 9 type pitchers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I remember, so in our preview, that was something you were looking for. And so you've been happy with what you've seen so far with them?
Absolutely. Both Kyler Adams and Jackson Redd have really stepped up on the mound, and then Sean Slagle threw a shutout against West Plains. Those guys have really stepped up. They didn't have major roles for us last year, and now they've kind of developed into those really important roles. Obviously, everyone knows Levi, but we throw Levi 1 time a week. I don't like to push our best starters because the hope is that we're still playing on June 6th. And I want him to be as good as possible when we get to mid-May. And so he throws once a week, so that leaves a lot of games to be covered. We've played 9 times, and he's pitched twice. And so that gives us the opportunity to really look at some other guys. And guys like Kyler and Sean and Jackson Redd have really stepped up and given us great innings.
All right, so, I think you got 4 games in the next 7 days. Is that right? Or maybe 8 days? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Home against Fairgrove, Ozark. Then you go to Oklahoma, and then hosting Rolla. The 3 that you have at home are all winning teams, all playing well. I couldn't figure out how good the Oklahoma team is, but I'm sure they're pretty good if you're driving all the way out there. So it sounds like
good.
Yeah. So what do you want to see from your team here as you guys go through this gauntlet?
The ability to adjust game to game to different scouting reports and game plans. That's something else that I think is really important when you get into postseason play. Because a lot of times you're playing back-to-back days or with only 1 day in between. I've coached football and basketball as well, and you always have kind of a few days in the postseason to kind of get ready for that next opponent. In baseball, today we're facing a righty who throws 87. Tomorrow we're facing a lefty who throws 77. How do we make those adjustments? Today's opponent likes to bunt a lot. Tomorrow's does not, but they steal a bunch of bases. We have to kind of be able to make those adjustments. We will face very different styles of teams this next 8 days. And then right after that 8th day, we go to Nixa on a Tuesday, which is kind of developed into a pretty strong rivalry out here in baseball between Willard and Nixa. So there's just a lot of good games coming up, and I like to schedule as good a people as we can find. You'll see some smaller schools on our schedule, but they're always smaller schools that have a Division I player because I want to find ways to challenge our team in some way. I always tell coaches, as soon as you have a Division I player, call me and I'll get you on the schedule because I'll play anybody if you've got a dude. And we got to face one of those Saturday at East Carter. Brady Smith's going to Wichita State. He's really good, and we were able to put together a game plan and get 10 hits against him. And I think that gives our guys a lot of confidence for the rest of the season.
Coach, you sound like a man who's going to be sitting in an admin office next year, doodling out a lineup. Do you think that's going to happen when you do that?
I don't think so. I'll probably be yelling at the TV about how the Cubs are playing or something. But no, I've done a variety of things. I used to be really into coaching girls basketball. I was an assistant girls basketball coach at Ozark when we won back-to-back state titles. And when I got done with that, I'm like, man, I'm going to miss coaching girls basketball. And I missed it for about a month or 2. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to move on to other things in my life. I will miss baseball more than that. But I really don't think I'm going to be sitting in the office trying to look up opposing pitchers and figuring out where we can attack them next year.
Yeah, I bet. I would just think with what you've built. Do you think back to what it was like 2007, what the facilities were like, what the program was like, and how far you've come? I mean, I certainly wasn't here. What was it like? I mean, I guess it must have been so different.
It was different. I will say the guy that came before me was John Hartley, and he was a great coach. We just had very different styles of how we wanted to play baseball, and so there was a real learning curve for our players and for me. And I made a bunch of mistakes early on. I was 25 when I took this program over, and so you make a lot of mistakes when you're young. And I came from a great program at Ozark under Mike Essick, and I tried to be Mike Essick for a while and realized you can't be that guy. You've got to be yourself. And so it took a while, but I am really proud of the program we've built, and that it's a true program. You know, we aren't starting guys who transfer in. We don't have those kinds of situations. The team that we're running out on the field tomorrow night was the same as basically our youth team in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And so with each group, it just kind of keeps filling in. And I think it's going to be a program that I'm not trying to put pressure on the next person by any means, but I do think it's going to be a program that's going to be really good for the foreseeable future.
All right, Coach. Good stuff. Anything I didn't ask you about you want to talk about here? It's a free forum, basically.
What do you think about the ABS stuff?
Oh, what do I think?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
First of all, so did you see CB Buckner yesterday? Did you see that clip?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
How angry was he? That was great.
Yeah.
I thought that clip was so funny, and I thought about, like, this is a fundamental change that runs deeper than I had really imagined. I don't know if you probably had already thought of it, but the idea of an inning, like, it ends, but then it doesn't. Right. Then it ends, but it doesn't. Like, that's crazy in baseball. I've never seen that, and I was like, I think that's a good thing. I think we're going to like that, but aren't we sometimes going to hate that too? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and like just yesterday, it was Boston burned their 2 player challenges early in the game. There really brings some extra strategy. You think back to baseball in like the 60s, 80s, even early 2000s, the players on the field were having to make a lot of decisions because the ball was in play all the time. And now that the game has turned into strikeouts and home runs, and I'm not dogging on that, that's the optimal way to play baseball. There's not as many decision-making things by the players anymore. Yeah. And even the pitch calling now, some of the major league teams are calling pitches out of the dugout again. So I do like that the ABS also puts the onus completely on the players to have to they have to decide, do I want to challenge this or not? And then it impacts your whole team. So I think that part is fascinating. I'm interested to see, do catchers start catching the ball incorrectly on purpose to try to get teams to burn challenges?
Wow.
Like, you know how a catcher can catch that pitch at the knees and they just knock it down?
Yeah.
And they know it's a strike, and the umpire calls it a strike, but the hitter's like, there's no way. I'm interested to see as guys get comfortable with this, I think you're going to see some gamesmanship that's going to be pretty neat.
Because that was kind of the issue, too. Like, I'm a Yankees fan from upstate New York.
Yeah.
And so Austin Wells is one of the best framing catchers. And they're saying,
Absolutely.
Well, this is eventually just not going to matter because, you know, whatever, with the ABS, and maybe one day they just go to the whole. But you're right. It actually can be, if you have a catcher who's able to manipulate like that, in that situation, it was so have you seen that? Has anyone done that where they?
No, there was some rumors that some guys have been practicing some of that, taking the pitch. So, you know, not the pitch that's on the black. Mm-hmm. Let's say Austin Wells has a ball. Let's say he's set up inside, and the pitch is on the outer third, but definitely over the white. If he just kind of catches it and acts like it kind of dominated him, and the umpire calls it a strike, the hitter might challenge. Or if the guy calls it a ball, now the Wells immediately knows he can get that, and it kind of messes with the umpire's head. You saw with Buckner. I mean, it messed with him a little bit yesterday. Like, he wasn't sure where the bottom of the zone was again for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see some of that. That's going to be really, really pretty neat. So I'm fascinated to see. You know, obviously baseball's only been going for about 4 or 5 days now at the major league level, but I'm fascinated to see how this plays out over the course of the year. The rule changes that we've made in baseball the last year or two, the pitch clock has worked great. The 3 batter minimum has worked great. The bigger bases to encourage more stolen bases. I think this is going to be another thing that we look back and say, hey, I like that we've added this in.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. The one thing I don't want, and I know this is going to happen, there's going to be a big strikeout to end a game, and they're just going to use their challenge because why not, right? And
yeah, Absolutely.
That's going to suck because there'll be like the fans are going to want. We see it in the NFL, like touchdown. Wait, hold your celebration. It might not have been a catch, whatever, and it just takes away from that moment. And could you imagine? Because you remember the World Series, obviously, that the runner crossing home plate, if easily. I mean, the ref or the ump could have easily said the opposite call. You know what I mean? And then they challenged that, and it's like, oh my god!
Back to that national championship that Miami played in college football, that the flag comes in late.
Yes.
And that was the other fascinating thing with the players. And you talked about the weight and this overturning. How, as a player, you think you got strike 3, you're walking off the mound.
Yes.
There's a challenge. No, it's actually a ball. Can you now flip mentally to get back in? Okay, I have to execute another pitch. There will be guys that will struggle with that. There'll be hitters that struggle with that. You know, they think it's a 3-1 count, but now it's 2-2, and they disagree with that. And like there's going to be some real mental gains to it as well.
Oh, man, that is going to be cool. Do you think we're headed to completely automated balls and strikes eventually? Or do you think we're going to stay right here in the middle with that? Yeah.
I think eventually we'll get there. Yeah. I don't know that I will love that part of it because I do think it could really take away from some of the catcher metrics. Catching's such a tough position, and having a good catcher. I mean, I'm not a Cardinals fan by any means, but you look at the job that Yadi Molina did for that Cardinals team. We take away some of that. I think that could be a problem. But overall, I do think that we'll probably move to the ABS system. Yeah.
Because then, if it becomes easier to be a catcher, in theory, you know, we already see position players pitching. Could you imagine if they want to get a really good bat in there and they're like, they sacrifice their second catcher, and then you're like putting the shortstop behind the plate because he's just got to catch it, right? As long as he can stop the thing. You know, think
about Kyle Schwarber, who came up as a catcher, or Wilson Contreras, who's now been removed from pitching, but you could stick him back there still, and it gets you another bat in the lineup. I mean, look at the advantage that the Yankees have. That their 2 catchers are Austin Wells and Ben Rice, both good hitters. You know, you could just kind of always stick a hitter back there. They would have to be able to throw, obviously, and they'd have to be able to block at least some. But the framing and stuff wouldn't matter nearly as much. So sports are constantly changing. I mean, you see this in the NFL. We got back to running the football. Running backs all of a sudden mattered this past year. You know, basketball would be interesting to see. I mean, SGA's dominating in the mid-range. After that shot kind of went away for a while. So sports are constantly changing. It'll just be interesting to see what the ABS does. I don't know anything about the other sports. I only know football, basketball, and baseball. Don't ask me anything else.
No, that's great. Like we just have had a couple 2-3 games here in the season, and we've already seen some craziness with the ABS, and it's going to get crazier, right? As people get used to this. Yeah. By the way, so you said you're a Cubs fan?
Yes.
Does Danielle know this?
Yes, she does. I talked to her about it. Okay. So my parents actually lived in Chicago for a while. They moved to Ozark when they were pregnant with me. 45 years ago. So we go up to Chicago. I just went up to Chicago in January. We still really like that. So I talked to Danielle for a while about it, and she's a big Cubs fan as well. So it was good. There's not many of us in this area. So
you know what? There's a ton in this newsroom. I don't know if I'm speaking out of school here, but I would say there's probably just as many Cubs fans as Cardinals fans in this building in KY3. It's really weird to me. I don't get it. I don't know how. Yeah.
That is odd.
So you come in here, Coach. You'll feel amongst friends. But seriously, I got like the director, the producer wearing they've got like Cubs purses, okay? And I see that and I'm like, interesting, because actually it's hard for us to find people from here who want to be in this business. I don't know why. It's just not a thing in Southwest Missouri, and I totally get that. It's kind of a vain industry, right? It's not. The people here aren't that vain, and I appreciate that. I'm from New York. We're a lot more vain. Maybe that's why I'm here. I don't know.
I would also say people like Nixa and Republic is starting this as well that are doing the broadcast stuff. I do think you'll see more and more people get into it. I think like for like my kid who's a senior in high school, and he would have no interest in doing your job, but he wouldn't even know where to start to try to get into that. And now you're going to have kids coming out of some of these area schools that have been exposed to some of this throughout high school. I think that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah. Your school, your new school, Republic, still Willard, but yes, Republic when you get there. And also, like you said, Nixa, Reed Spring also on that list. They do a nice job. We look at it and we're like, we know some TV stations that don't have as nice of equipment as these kids do.
Yes.
So that's great stuff. We love seeing it.
I was watching some college football this past fall on TV, and I was like, Nixa has better equipment that is at this game. And this was not a low-level football game. This was a decent level of football, and I'm like, Nix's stuff is better than this right now. So it's fascinating. I think anytime we can invest into kids, and Republic does a great job with that. Nixa does a great job. There's several people that do in a variety of different ways. Just when we talk about broadcasting, Nix's is also interesting because when they first started it, I didn't think the broadcasters were all that professional, the high school kids, and they've really made a conscious effort to be very, very professional. They do a great job now with that stuff.
Yeah, you gotta rein that in. You can't be as much of a homer. You shouldn't be. You can lean
Correct.
that way as the home
Absolutely.
announcer, but you gotta. You know what I mean? It gets you in trouble. You start talking like that, someone else clips that up and uses it as bulletin board material, and you don't realize it. So you gotta So,
Absolutely.
Coach, this has been fun. Thank you for swinging by here.
Thank you. Anytime.
Absolutely. We'll have to do this again sometime soon. This was great. Maybe come
Awesome.
playoff time. All right, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thank you.